It has more than 1,300 hot springs, it's bisected by the Danube River, and it's the land of the Magyar people. Today we're talking about Hungary. Hungary is a country located in Central Europe, in the Carpathian Basin. If you make the mistake of saying that Hungary is in Eastern Europe, all of your Hungarian friends will instantly block you on social media. Hungary is bordered by Austria to the west, Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia to the south and southwest, Romania to the southeast, Ukraine to the northeast, and Slovakia to the north. It's a landlocked country, meaning that it's surrounded by land and does not border any sea or ocean. These days, it's not a particularly large country. Its total size is 93,028 square kilometers, making it the 110th largest country in the world, slightly larger than Portugal. Hungary has a population of 9.6 million people. The population is mainly of the Magyar ethnicity, the cultural and linguistic descendants of the Magyars who arrived in the Carpathian Basin in the late 9th century. The official language is Hungarian, or
Magyar nyelv.
Magyar being the Hungarian word for Hungarian. It's the native language of approximately 99% of the population. There are also minority languages like Romanian and German, which are spoken in some border communities. Hungarian is a member of the Uralic language family. Two other European languages related to Hungarian are Finnish and Estonian, though there's no language that's mutually intelligible with Hungarian. The Magyars and their Uralic language originated in the vicinity of the Ural Mountains, which are located in present-day Russia and northwestern Kazakhstan. But sometime around 2,000 years ago, it's not clear exactly when, they began a slow migration westward, over the Pontic Steppe and into the northern Caucasus region and the area north of the Black Sea. There were 7 Magyar tribes united in a tribal confederation. The 7 tribes crossed the Carpathian Mountains around the year 896 under the leadership of Arpad and established the Principality of Hungary. In the year 1000, Hungary's first king, King Stephen I, a descendant of Arpad, established the Christian Kingdom of Hungary and began converting the population to Christianity, replacing their traditional form of paganism. The majority is still Christian today. According to a 2019 survey, 62% of Hungarians declared themselves to be Roman Catholic, 5% Protestant, 8% another type of Christian, and 22% no religion or undeclared. In 1241, during the reign of King Béla IV, Hungary became threatened by the Mongol invasion from the east and north. After the Hungarians were disastrously defeated at the Battle of Mohi, the Mongols destroyed much of the country and killed much of its population. After they pulled out the following year, Hungary's King Béla IV began heavily fortifying the country with a network of fortresses and welcomed settlers from nearby countries to repopulate areas where everyone had been killed. He also formed a defensive alliance with other countries under threat from the Mongols. A second Mongol invasion in 1285 was successfully repelled by the Hungarians. Béla is often referred to as the second founder of Hungary because of his efforts to rebuild and strengthen it. The Hungarian king who strengthened the country the most internally was Matthias Corvinus during his rule from 1458 to 1490. He reduced internal conflict through the centralization of power and defense, leading to more economic prosperity and less risk of invasion. But after his rule ended, Hungary became internally fractured again, and the Ottoman Empire seized the opportunity to invade. Hungary became partitioned between the Ottoman Empire, the Habsburg Empire, and Transylvania. Around 150 years later, all of Hungary was taken back from the Ottoman Empire during the Great Turkish War and made part of Hungary again, but as part of the Habsburg Empire, not an independent Hungary. The Hungarians remained under the rule of the Habsburg Empire, then the Austrian Empire from 1804, but Hungarian pro-independence revolution and war led to a compromise form of government, the dual monarchy of Austria-Hungary in 1867. It gave both Austria and Hungary their own parliament and capital, but they were ruled by a single king. Austria-Hungary took part in the First World War on the side of the Central Powers, the German Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. After being defeated in the war, Austria-Hungary ceased to exist, and the size of Hungary was drastically reduced to 28% of what it had previously been. Before the war, Hungary had been a multi-ethnic kingdom, with Hungarian speakers making up 48% of the population, while Romanians, Slovaks, Germans, and others made up the rest. But the areas without a Hungarian majority were turned into new states based on their majority ethnicity. After the partition, Hungarian speakers made up around 89% of the population, and that number continued to grow. Today there are still Hungarian minorities living in the neighboring countries. In World War II, Hungary was allied with the Axis powers, Nazi Germany and Italy, until it was occupied by the Soviet Union in 1944. Hungary was never an actual part of the Soviet Union, but it remained under Soviet influence and became a communist country for 50 years, from 1949 until 1989. Since the end of communism, Hungary has liberalized its economy and joined the European Union in 2004. The capital of Hungary is Budapest, which was officially created in 1873 through the merger of three neighboring cities, Pest, Buda, and Óbuda. It's home to nearly 1.8 million people. Budapest is also home to many sites of historical importance, including Fisherman's Bastion, near Buda Castle, with an incredible view of the Danube River that divides Buda from Pest. The original castle fortifications were built in the 13th century by King Béla IV, the second founder of Hungary. He also erected the nearby Matthias Church during his reign. These sites are all part of the Castle Quarter, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Budapest is also home to two other UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the banks of the Danube River and Andrassy Avenue, a 2.5-kilometer tree-lined boulevard that was inaugurated in 1876. It's today considered one of Europe's most beautiful avenues. Budapest is also home to Dohány Street Synagogue, the largest synagogue in Europe and the second largest in the world. Hungary is composed of 20 top-level administrative units, the capital city of Budapest, and 19 counties. For statistics, they are grouped into 7 wider regions, and these regions can be further grouped together to reflect the 3 major geographic regions of Hungary: the Great Hungarian Plain, much of which lies east of the Danube River, Transdanubia, which lies to the west of the Danube River, and the northern Hungarian mountains. The capital city of Budapest is strategically located on the Danube River, just south of the North Hungarian mountains, at the crossroads of these 3 geographic regions. The Great Hungarian Plain is mainly located east of the Danube River. Its most remarkable feature is the plains themselves and their vastness. An easy way to experience the Great Hungarian Plain and its traditional way of life is to visit the Mata Stud Farm, near Hortobágy National Park. You can experience riding in a horse-drawn carriage through the pastoral environment and seeing their traditional equestrian show. Of course, the Plains region is also full of historically important towns like Szeged, Kecskemét, and Gyula. Transdanubia, west of the Danube and also to the south of the Danube, is Transdanubia. Its name means across the Danube. It has a variety of landscapes, including the Little Plain in the northwest, the Transdanubian Hills in the south, and the Transdanubian Mountains stretching from the central part of the region to the northeast. One of the most visited destinations in Transdanubia is Lake Balaton, the biggest lake in Central Europe, covering 592 square kilometers of surface. It's well loved for its resort towns and also for its wine-growing regions on the north side of the lake. Another impressive and important place in Transdanubia is the city of Esztergom, in the north of the country, near the border with Slovakia. It used to be the capital of Hungary from 972 to 1249, when King Béla IV moved the capital to Buda. Esztergom is located on the western bank of the Danube River, close to where the Transdanubian Mountains meet the North Hungarian Mountains. The North Hungarian Mountains are part of the Western Carpathian Mountains. Much of the Western Carpathian Range lies outside the borders of modern Hungary, in Slovakia to the north, and the Eastern and Southern Carpathian Mountains lie within Romania and Serbia. But in the past, they mostly lied within the borders of the larger historical Kingdom of Hungary. The highest point in Hungary is located in the North Hungarian Mountains, Mount Kékes, at 1,014 meters above sea level. This is another of Hungary's most popular attractions. One more famous destination is the town of Eger, where you can find Eger Castle, built to replace an earlier castle destroyed during the first Mongol invasion. There's also the Minorite Church of St. Anthony of Padua, one of the most impressive Baroque buildings in the world, and other historical sites. Another place to check out is Hollókő Castle, one of the 13th century forts built by King Béla IV to help secure the country against the Mongols. Hungary is also known for its thousands of thermal spas. Just in Budapest alone, around 120 hot springs produce 70 million liters of thermal water daily. Hungary's climate is largely a continental climate with warm or hot summers and cold, snowy winters, but just how hot or cold depends on the area and elevation. In Budapest, which is at an average elevation of 102 meters above sea level, the average winter temperatures range from around -1 to 5 degrees. In the summer, the average temperatures range from around 18 degrees to 29 degrees. Its climate is technically temperate because in winter the daily average is above 0 degrees, but not by much, so it borders on a continental climate, which is the norm at higher elevations. Cuisine. Hungary has lots of foods similar to those in nearby countries, due to centuries of interaction and changing borders and rulers. Some important Hungarian dishes include goulash, a meat stew or soup with vegetables and paprika, fisherman's soup, which is made from a mix of different fish with lots of paprika, stuffed cabbage leaves filled with minced pork and vegetables, and paprika. Maybe you're noticing a pattern. You could also try langos, a type of deep-fried flatbread, or dobos torta, a chocolate sponge cake with chocolate buttercream covered with caramel. And there goes my keto diet. Hungary is a fascinating country whose geography has hugely impacted its history, and whose geography has been greatly impacted by its history. Remember that just over 100 years ago, it was more than 3 times its current size. It may be off the beaten path for many travelers, but for those interested in history and the peoples of Europe, it seems like a highly rewarding destination. But don't worry, there are plenty of stunning monuments and architectural and natural wonders as well. We don't really have time to discuss Hungarian culture in this video. If you're from Hungary, what's something about Hungarian culture that you would like to share with the audience? And other people, what's something that you find interesting or surprising about Hungary? If you'd like to support this channel and see videos 1 week early, click the join button next to the subscribe button for information about how to become a channel member. Hungary was ruled by the Turkish Ottoman Empire for around 150 years. Check out this video on Turkey, which succeeded the Ottoman Empire. I guarantee you'll learn something new about its history, geography, or people.